Very nice. And I'm searching my memory. I know it's a Christmas song, but I can't I always get the names confused on these.
That's O Come, Emmanuel.
Okay. And it's like, again, if in case your people are saying, well, we know who this is. Yes, it's Laurel Federbush and the Ann Arbor-based harpist that has been part of the, I guess, a Flint Talk Radio kind of a extended family for a couple of years now. And so anyway, and this is a busy season for you, so I really appreciate you coming up here and giving us your time and your,
my pleasure.
And your talents. So this is a busy day both for Christians and Jews. They have is Hanukkah still being celebrated?
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. So it's like I didn't know how many. It's the last 7 days. I know that. So what day are we in right now?
It's actually 8.
8 days.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Adam Sandler song. That was my reference. So yeah, 8 crazy nights. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that a few years ago. It was really nice. That was a funny little animated thing he did.
Yeah, he's very talented.
But anyway, so it's like you're all over the place. So people who follow you on Facebook can see that you're at different cafes. You're at different what is it? The Grand Traverse or?
Yeah, that's right. In Ann Arbor, the Grand Traverse Pie Company. I'm there Thursdays, 11:30 to 1:30. Last month was of Thanksgiving, and the week before I was busy, so I was there Wednesdays instead. But usually I'm there Thursdays, 11:30 to 1:30. Grand Traverse Pie Company in Ann Arbor on Zeeb Road.
So you've been busy, yeah. It's like I've seen a lot of postings there from you, and I was really surprised that you could make it up here because I figured you'd be booked solid for the entire, Advent season. Is some churches like I think it's Episcopalians, the Anglican Church, obviously, Lutherans and Catholics, and some Presbyterians. This is the Advent season. We're getting into it,
Okay.
So you're going to have like a lot of activities around the churches and at their centers and all that. So anyway, during Hanukkah, do you have some piece maybe you want to play it for the Hanukkah?
Oh, sure, yeah. Thank you so much for asking.
It's like we're ecumenical to a large degree here. I mean, it's like I think it's Judeo-Christian tradition. They are tied together. Yeah.
And there are I only know a couple of Hanukkah songs. The ones I know are the kind of simple childlike ones, but there are much more serious songs for Hanukkah. But anyway, this is a Hanukkah song. This is Dreidel.
remember learning that song in elementary school. We had a teacher, and she was one of the cooler teachers. I didn't get along with teachers in elementary school. I had a problem with authority figures, but we had a Hanukkah play or ceremonies. There was like a whole program put together for Hanukkah. We had the songs. We learned about the dreidel. We learned about the potato pancakes, whatever it is. Latkes, yeah. Well, actually, I should remember that. That's also, they used that name for a character in Taxi years ago, Latka Gross.
Okay, I didn't know
remember that. Yeah. Anyway, and it is kind of something, I guess, in the old country, Europe or another, I guess Hanukkah was not considered a major holiday for Jews to celebrate. And it was major, but it wasn't like it is now in the United States. I guess it's been transformed quite a bit.
Yeah, because it happens at the same time as Christmas, so that sort of elevated it to a bigger status than it would have ordinarily.
Yeah, it's like, I remember, it was like, to my knowledge, I don't think we had any Jewish kids in our school, but found out later after high school, one of the girls that went to school with us, her dad was Jewish, but she was raised as a Catholic because I guess he wasn't that observant. He didn't really care. But I thought it was really nice though that she did this way before the era of PC or whatever. She took it on herself to actually teach us more about a different, culture we might not have been aware of. And I think I do credit her for that. That she did bring that to our attention. A lot of people we have people around us who celebrate holidays or within the Christian traditions. There's many variations that are practiced or observed during the same holidays we celebrate, and we're unaware of them. And it's kind of interesting to see how they do it and the reasoning behind it. So
yeah, I play at a lot of my jobs are at Christian churches and different denominations, and different ones have different customs or different traditions.
Because like the Eastern Orthodox churches are different than the Roman Catholic, the Western churches, and then you have a few months ago I read there's like 40,000 different Christian denominations. Mm-hmm. That's an amazing amount of Christian denominations. But anyway, the music though you play too. You play all kinds of music. You play at weddings, obviously. You play at weddings. You play at funeral services probably too.
Yes, that's right.
Now, how does that handled? It's like that's got to be you don't anticipate somebody passing away, so. When that happens, you probably call it out of the blue. A lot of times you got to get ready real quick to to play at a service for a funeral, don't you?
Yeah, I've done many fewer of those than I have weddings, but yeah, I'm honored that to be part of. It's a very serious occasion, and I'm honored that the families let me be involved in that part of their lives, and. Different people have different things they want. Some people want it very serious, and often people want hymns or just very meditative music. And then sometimes people want something different, like if they want something to reflect the character of the person who passed away, and maybe they want to make it a joyous celebration of their life. It's like I once had someone who the person who was deceased had really liked Irish music, so they wanted me to play very, very joyful Irish jigs and things like that. And at first I wasn't sure that was really what they wanted, but when I got there it seemed like they really were making it a joyful celebration. So that's what I played. So different people have different takes on that.
Well, some people term that, some churches call when a person passes away, since the Christianity basis, basically has no fear of death. That's what they teach you. The fear is, the death has lost its sting. It's considered a going home, service rather than a dour, sad, depressing thing. It's a time for joy. It's like, I think that's probably healthier than just getting so morose.
Right.
Yeah.
That's one thing. I have some tunes that are kind of very sad in minor keys. And I don't get to play them very often because they're sort of too sad to play at something that's like a wedding or a joyful occasion. But I wouldn't typically play them at a funeral either because they're too sad and they would just bring people down. So those are songs like I tend to fit in if I'm just playing background music, like for example at the Grand Traverse Pie Company or at some other event that's it's neither joyous nor very somber, just typical background music. But yeah, you don't want to play music that's so sad that it's going to make people unhappy at a funeral. Usually.
Now maybe if you owned a bar, would hire you and you'd have to play the saddest music around. It's like you ever years ago they used to think that rock and roll music, got people all fired up and stuff. And they actually found that country music fired people up more at bars than the rock and roll did.
And one thing I heard, there was some study that people working out at gyms got the most out of their workout when they played like very soft pop music, like very mellow pop music, not the really hard rock. And that was kind of surprising to me because, I like to work out and I tend to like very high energy songs, but I guess they found that that's not the best songs to work out to. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, I wonder how many people have, like, when they're working out their house, they actually can't, the stuff from Flashdance, you know what I mean? They're doing their version of the Jennifer Beals, dance and trashing their own house, but, no, it's like, and music does affect your mood. I mean, it's like, in the Bible it's mentioned, David played the harp, for Saul, and, Saul, and it is, there's like, some people actually claim that there is actually, for the harp, and anyway, and not all music, but harp, so you can actually maybe make bank on this, that actually it does have like the tone and the notes and everything being played through the harp actually has kind of a real rehabilitative effect more.
Yeah, there are people who specialize in that, who go to hospitals and nursing homes and really specialize in the healing powers of the harp. And different people make different claims about that. And some of the claims are actually kind of suspect. The harp is some wonder cure for every illness, or, if only that were true. But my health is pretty good, so maybe it has some good effects. But but they make all. I don't know if there's anything special about the harp versus another instrument playing very soothing music, or but that's not my area of expertise. But I do admire people who go around and try to really help heal other people through music.
Actually, I got a friend right now. She's in college and she's studying. I think it was music therapy. Mm-hmm. And it's and when I first heard it back, I think I first started hearing those terms, art therapy and physical therapy. Music therapy, when we're late 70s, and we were kind of poo-pooing on it, laughing about, mocking it. But there seems to be some kind of evidence that suggests that it may have a positive effect on people. Mm-hmm. And it does. I know art does, because there's especially stuff that requires like manipulation of the joints, like working with clay, painting or just drawing. I guess that when a person suffered a stroke or some kind of disturbance like that, some kind of illness like that, I definitely could say where that would have an effect. It'd help you rebuild your skills, your motor skills. Mm-hmm. So another thing is too, I think a lot of it, you're keeping in shape and stuff like that is tied to carrying that thing around all the time.
Yeah, and you helped me carry it down that staircase, so I really appreciate that. Yeah, it does help keep it in shape, that's for sure.
It's like if the budget permitted, I'd actually go out and get you one we keep here, so you wouldn't even have to worry about it. Not that big one, obviously, but the one of the small Gaelic harps or something.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I actually do, as I was telling you, I do have a smaller harp, too. I didn't bring it this time, but maybe some other time. It's, about yay big. And one of my students very graciously gave it to me at a much reduced rate than she was planning to sell it for, which was very generous of her. And but those can be handy for a lot of, I don't use those for my weddings or orchestra jobs, but sometimes if I'm playing in a more informal setting, I might use it, or else I might use it just inside the house to practice some of my licks if my other harp is in the car, for example, or at a church or something.
That's like, I know guitar players, they like to have their guitar, and they have like, a lot of guys will have a beater guitar, they just leave around, mm-hmm. and it gets knocked around. It's got nicks, it's got cracks, and whatever. They play the hell out of it, And I guess that could happen too if you had if you had a smaller one, you could just leave around the house. It'd probably get a lot of use, sitting
right,
there.
Yes. But I guess the same principle. Yeah.
I just happen to think too. I don't think we've ever went into this much, but during the course of your musical training, did they ever have like very old harps for you or other instruments to play on to see what it sounded like? Because obviously this is going to be different than maybe something created, hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, those harps I think tend to be in museums, and you can't really just sit down and play them. But I was actually surprised. One of the other harpists in the area, Kelly Yusufian, who has the Michigan Harp Center, and which is a very good resource for harpists. I think it's in Clarkston. It's in this area, but she has a harp that she uses regularly as her harp that she plays at events, And I think she said it was 100 years old or close to that, and that was very surprising to me. But I guess they really stay. They. I guess if you maintain them well, they can really hold up. So.
Pianos are still around that have been around for 150, 200 years. I mean, it's possible. I'd be kind of hesitant to play something like a this the much well-known Stradivarius violins. Let's face it, they're all I know the people have in their collection still play them.
Okay.
Because it's like that would be basically like, why wouldn't you? But
Right.
they're insured. They're insured heavily.
Yes. I mean, you do have to do maintenance work on a harp, which often involves replacing certain parts. Like this harp has had some major repairs done. The soundboard I had to have that replaced several years ago. And the neck, which is this part of the harp, I had to have a new one put on. Like every harp's, like in the middle of its life somewhere, would need those repairs done to keep it in good condition.
Well, I can imagine there'd be quite a bit of stress being pulled down on those strings,
Right,
with those
yes.
strings. And now, when do you have to restring that? Can you restring that yourself, or do you have to take a specialist?
Yeah.
Okay.
The wire strings can be difficult, so the guys that come around every year or so to do maintenance work on harps, which you should have done every year or every 2 years if you're an active harpist. Like sometimes they'll offer to do the wire strings because those are more difficult. Like they often charge for that. So I like to do it myself to avoid the charge. But the wire ones are a little more of a pain because they're just heavier strings. They're harder to cut, and they're a little more, and harder to get through the holes at the bottom. So those are more difficult, but you can still do it yourself. So.
You obviously, being a harp player, you can't always, anticipate when something's going to happen. So you probably do have, extra strings on hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do that.
Like every musician I know, they carry, you look in their guitar case. There's like at least 2 or 3 of them there.
Yeah, fortunately, they don't break as often as you'd think. Like it depends on the harp. Some harps might have a problem with, I guess the holes, or I think they're called the eyelets. I'm not really sure, but if they have some problem with the holes being too sharp, the strings might break more often than they should. Or if for some reason it's a bad quality string, it might break more. But under ideal conditions, they don't really break that often, knock on wood. They break more often in the summer, like hot, humid weather or maybe severe temperature changes. They might be more likely to break. But ordinarily, especially if you have nylon string, I prefer nylon for the ones that aren't wire. Because they're just, they break less, and they're cheaper. And also, I'm a vegetarian, so I like to use animal products. Or I avoid using animal products if I don't have to in a lot of situations. So I prefer the nylon strings, and I've actually gotten to like their sound better. I think they have a sort of a more precise sound. The gut strings sound a little bit more mushy to me, but I'm a minority in that regard because most harpists do prefer the gut strings, which are more expensive, and at least most harpists would use gut strings in this range, and some would use gut strings all the way through. But I tend to think nylon strings are sort of brighter and more crisper sounding. So,
what kind of animal would they use the intestines for? The gut
sheep, I think.
Sheep, yeah. That's like I know that years ago they probably the metal ones are pretty considered like a earth-shattering improvement than the
Right.
nylon. I mean, in nylon, a large portion of what we use nylon for came about because of. Well, they used to use it for replacement of silk because during the different wars we've had in the 20th century, the silk supply was cut off. That's the reason we have different types of rubber than we've had before.
Oh,
The stuff,
okay.
the rubber we used to have years ago came from trees. Made from substances that made like latex and stuff came from trees that they actually tapped, like a sap. And during the course of the Second World War, the South Pacific Islands and stuff like that, and the other places were cut off from the Allies, be able to utilize that stuff. So they came up with the nylon for the parachutes and the different artificial rubber. And see, then it could just kind of went into everyday life, like cell phone technology did. It was developed, that kind of technology and the computerization required and the satellites, all be developed because of the race for the space programs. But now it's got to pay off on the civilian side, on the everyday. And
Okay.
just like nylon, nylon came about because of they couldn't get the natural resources. They came up with an artificial source of it.
Okay, so I guess harpists are the beneficiaries of that.
Well, see, it's like there's a series called James Burke used to have. He has a series that used to be on PBS called "The Day the Universe Changed," and this is a personal interpretation of how one event will give rise to this, and then there was unintended consequences, both positive and negative. Well, when you're looking at nylon strings and let's face it, rayon and all this other stuff we use for our fabrics, it came about because there was either a shortage of something, because of natural shortage occurs, or because of artificial conditions of warfare. And so we actually enjoy benefit from the past generations having horrific things happen around them.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's kind of a sad fact of human life,
Yeah, well, out of a bad event, good things can come from it.
Right. That's like, we basically, you feel like they always say, if life hands you lemons, make lemonade. Well, that's what, we adopt. We say, hey, we've used this for this. Why can't this be good for this?
Right, yeah.
Because we're incredibly resourceful. And getting back to the major point, the nylon came about because of shortages of natural occurring substances. And maybe there was a certain type of sheet, too, that they used to use primarily for stringing harps that
Okay.
maybe was in short supply, or maybe they want to be more humanitarian and avoid having to kill these animals for that.
Right, yeah. I mean, they don't kill it just for the harp strings, so but it's nonetheless, yeah.
A lot of people eat lamb chops and and veal shank. I mean, not veal shank, shanks, and what else is there? I mean, that's been a long time since I had lamb, so. I mean, I like lamb, but I mean, get the image of this little small animal dying for me just to have a few minutes of dining pleasure.
Right, yeah.
Kind of, you feel a little chagrined. You feel a bit you feel like you're a little like you're a jerk, basically. But
Well.
anyway, so you've been playing around like we'll go over this again for people who might be joining us. You've been playing harp for how many years now?
Since I was 7, which is a long time.
A long time. Notice how she avoids.
Once in a while, people press me, but I avoid that.
Yeah, it's like as you've gotten older though, have you found pieces that years ago it used to be really daunting for you, challenging? Now you can do it relatively without any effort.
Well, I think the difference is that now I'm willing to simplify things. Like in music school, they would frown upon that, or in music school you learn things and play it exactly the way it's written, note for note. And I think now I have better techniques of simplifying the music, or just I mean that. I don't know if it's exactly simplifying, but sometimes the way it's written is just sort of awkward to play, and so I might make up a version of it that's more fits better with my hands or my style of playing, and it's not necessarily fewer notes, it might be more notes, but somehow it feels more natural. Like often, even if something's written by another harpist, what works for them doesn't necessarily work for a different harpist, so I think people often have to adapt music to make it more their own, and now I'm willing to do that more.
That's ways with the martial arts. And it's like, in the martial arts, they always say if a technique doesn't work for you, if there's one that's appropriate or one that almost like the same lines, use that. Because you have your own body, there's body mechanics involved, and especially in music. I can see that, especially the fine, motor skills you have to have for playing a harp or an instrument. Some people find things because of their physical structure or because of injury, they might even not be able to carry it off as quickly as somebody who doesn't have those issues. So, I mean, I can see that happening with...
You do martial arts?
I was in Kung Fu before several years, and I was in Judo and Karate, and I studied pretty much like 4 different arts.
Yeah, my brother's into martial arts too, so I'll have to ask him about that if he knows.
It's like I studied Wing Chun Kung Fu for about 1.5 years, 2 years. That's my prime one. I like that. But, it's like... And another thing is, we'll bring this up, too. Like, arts basically... You know how they say like medical arts or medical science? Well, art music is a form of art. It's like the performing arts. Arts basically does, I think, the best way to sum it up, and I don't even know if I can get this wording out right, but basically you have the necessary foundational skills that has to be in place. But there's a lot of wiggle room. There's a lot of energy that you're allowed to put into certain things, and that makes it into the art. I mean, and that's an inadequate definition because I'm doing it on the fly, but I think that any kind of thing is like you were talking about. You found as you got older, you can avoid. You basically simplify things, or you can. you actually adapt. See, I think that's where the arts are useful because it does allow you to develop strategy and how to overcome things that you'd find difficult, or maybe you just simply couldn't carry it off one way, but you found a way around it.
Right.
So I mean, it's like, and you find you found that you do that as you get older.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess so.
that's like that was kind of when you were a kid. Obviously, you had to dedicate yourself quite a lot to playing, to practice.
Well, when I was a kid, I wasn't that dedicated. I wasn't one of these child prodigies that immediately takes their instrument. It's like 15 minutes a day, and my parents had to really, really make me do that because, like you're a kid. I wanted to play the harp. That was like my parents wanted me to play an instrument, but they let me pick which one, and I did want to play the harp, but nonetheless, I didn't want to do the work to make it happen. So like they had to sort of, I don't know, force me, but make me practice it every day, and I remember sort of really cramming before my lessons. Like I wouldn't practice much during the week, but right, like the night before my lesson, I'd scramble to learn all the stuff I should have been doing during the week. But yeah, at some point, like when I was, probably said this in one of our other interviews, like I think it was in 8th grade when I realized that if I did my exercises that you're supposed to do, technique exercises every day, and of course I didn't because they were boring. But like one week, I think I just thought I would just try doing it, just for the heck of it. Try doing the exercises every day. I'm not sure exactly why, but I found that it really made a difference, and I realized that I had much more control over my playing, and if you can control your playing and make the music sound the way you want it to sound, it's a lot more fun than if your hands are just doing whatever they want to do, and you have no control over them. So
Now to this day, you still you practice daily or weekly or what? I mean,
well, ideally daily. Like I often have events that I'm playing at, so I'm playing there, and on days when I'm not playing, I try to practice. There's some days when I miss, but like ideally I practice every day. It would be. Practicing is also sometimes like looking at the music. If I have an orchestra part coming up, I have to learn the part, so I have to like make the harp notations in the part so that I can play it, and just study it. So some of it's not sitting at the harp, some of it's like mentally learning it other ways. But yeah, and of course there's other aspects of harp playing, like booking gigs or sending out demo tapes. So like every day I'm doing some harp stuff, but yeah, I try to practice every day. Sometimes I miss though.
now is this the harp you've had since you were a child, or is this a different harp?
I had this one since I was 10, and we got it secondhand. It turns out that it's like a year older than I am. Like I think that's kind of cool because I didn't know how old it was when I got it, and it just happens that it's like a year older than I am, so it seems like it's, which is pretty close, pretty close in age, so I feel like we're sort of connected that way. But yeah, we got it secondhand, and it was cheaper. The family probably could have charged more money than they did, but we were able to get a good deal on it. I mean, it was still expensive, like it was, I think, $3,500. And that was, when I was 10 years old, which was a long time ago. So, but yeah, I started out with what's called a troubadour harp. That's, it's not really an authentic folk harp, but it's sort of like in the style of a folk harp. It's about that big, and it's kind of a practice harp, basically. It was taller than I was, but still not as big or as expensive as this harp. And yeah, most people who want to play the harp would start with either a troubadour or even a smaller folk harp. So that's one thing. If any of the listeners or viewers have a young family member, or if they themselves want to take up the harp, you really don't have to start with a big, huge one. You can start with a much more affordable little folk harp, like, a lap harp or one that stands on the floor. And those are like they go from like a couple hundred to a few thousand, depending on what size you want to get or what quality. But most people never actually have to get a big harp, and unless they want to. But that's only for like orchestra work, or jazz or much more complicated harp playing. But for most of the things people might want to do, unless they're a real serious professional harpist, they don't really need a big, huge, this big pedal harp for that.
Well, what age did you decide this is what you wanted to do? You wanted to be a harp player?
I'm not sure. I told you that when I was in 8th grade, I started getting more serious about it, and I'm not sure if it was that year. I think it was a little bit later that I decided I wanted to be a musician, and once I did decide that, I never changed my mind. But I think when I was in 8th grade, I think at some point I had different things I wanted to be. I wanted to be a classics major. I liked Latin and mythology, so I remember I was into that for a while. But I think maybe it might have been when I was in high school. I'm not sure. I decided I wanted to be a professional harpist.
And you also went to college and studied music, right?
Yeah.
Did you also learn any kind of there was another instrument you dabbled with during that course? Or?
No, well, not really. The only other times I played when I was in 5th grade, I played clarinet because my parents, when they found out they were going to have to buy me a big harp, I'd been playing a smaller harp, and they weren't sure they wanted to invest that much money unless I was really serious. So they wanted to see if there was some other instrument I might be satisfied playing. So I tried clarinet, which is a beautiful instrument, but somehow I didn't. I never got into really playing it, even though I like listening to clarinets. And let's see, and in college we had to learn some piano, just basic piano, but I never got good at it at all. We just, I only got to very, very basic beginner level piano. So.
And changing gears here too. A few weeks ago, remember that band we talked about a couple months ago, Art in America? I had the pleasure of having them in the studio, and I think you saw the interview.
Yeah, that was really joyful. Yeah, because I had told you that I had gotten years ago. I'm not sure how old I was, maybe junior high or high school, but I had gotten to sit in on one of their rehearsals because I think my mom knew their mother or something like that. There was some family connection, so they graciously let me sit in on one of their rehearsals. And what's her name? Shoshone?
Shoshone?
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, that's the sister in the band who plays the harp, and I think she had an electric harp, which is kind of unusual. Or I'm not sure if she had or if it was a regular harp that she had put pickups on every string. But they also do have electric harps. But however it was unusual, but it sounded very good. It's not easy to put pickups on a harp to make it sound good, but they had managed to do it, and they were very nice, and it was that was really enjoyable, and I loved their music. So.
Well, I'm gonna hit you up for another song here, and we'll let you go and play something like that, and we'll
sure.
And we'll get back to you as soon as you're done, with the song there.
Okay. Let's see. This is "Oh Holy Night."
Again, very beautiful.
Thanks. Oh, I have to add that these are, well, I'm embellishing them, but these are basically the Christmas carols I'm doing are basically arrangements by Sylvia Woods, who is a harpist in or a harper, folk harp in California, who's done a lot of arrangements for harp. So if anyone wants to learn these, they can contact or go to Sylvia Woods' website, and she has a good book of Christmas carols.
Okay, and we're going to give you a chance to say where you're going to be at next, maybe that you're aware of in the next couple of weeks, so people can come out and see you.
Okay, yeah, actually coming up this week, I'm going to be doing the Boar's Head Festival in Saginaw. That's at the Bethlehem, Bethlehem Evangelical Lutheran Church. Bethlehem Evangelical Lutheran Church on, I think it's the corner of Weiss and Hermansaw Avenue in Saginaw. And I'll be there Thursday night. I'm going to be playing in the prelude music, so my prelude starts at like 6:45, but the performance starts at 7:30, but I'm starting at 6:45. And let's see, they're also having it Saturday evening, 7:30, again 6:45 prelude, and then two performances on Sunday, which would be, let's say, 3:15 prelude, 4:00 performance, and then the evening performance. So that's Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'm also playing in the Rochester Symphony coming up on December 13th. I'm going to be performing there, and that's in Rochester, obviously, and 8:00 performance. And I think it was Stony Brook High School, I think.
And also people can keep up-to-date information with you on the up-to-date information at your Facebook page, and we'll post that up there too on Facebook, on this posting. And thank you very much again, Laurel.
Thank you.
It's great to hear you again. And hope you have a great success, holiday season.
Oh, thank you.
Personally as professionally, and I hope you're not stretched to the maximum where it's a stress for you. So thanks again, though.
Thank you.
Yeah.